followed by Bhagavad Gita. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvam Anusandadhami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshinim Namostu te Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullara Vindayata Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gita Buddhaduhe Namaha Sarvopanishado Gavaha Dogdha Gopalanandanaha Partho Vatsasudhir Bhokta Duktam Gita Amritam Mahate Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Bhishmadrona Tata Jayadrata Jala Gandhara Nilotpala Shalyagrahavati Kripena Vahani Karnena Vela Kula Ashwathama Vikarna Ghora Makara Duryodhana Vartinim Sotirna Khalu Pandavairanadi Kaivartaka Keshavaha Parasharya Vachassaroja Mamalam Gitartha Gandhotkatam Nanakyanaka Kesaram Adikta Sambodhana Bodhitam Loke Sajjana Shatpataira Haraha Pepiyamanam Muda Huyad Bharata Pankajam Kalimala Pradvamshina Shreyase Mukam Karoti Macha Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Paramananda Madhavam Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunmanti Divyai Stavaihi Vedai Sanga Padakramo Panishadai Gayanti Yam Samaga Dhyana Vastita Tadgatena Manasa Pasyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam Navidusura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Om Shri Krishna Paramatmane Namaha Atha Parchamodhyayaha Brahma Sannyasa Yogaha is a chapter. The Bhagavad Gita, 18 chapters, are divided into 3 portions. Each portion consisting of 6 chapters. Each set of 6 chapters is called a Shatkam. Shatkam means 6. So 6 into 3, 18 chapters. Each of these Shatka cover 3 topics. So, Shatka and subject matter. The first 6 chapters are called Prathama Shatkam. The second 6 chapters are called Madhyama Shatkam. The third and the last 6 chapters are called Charama Shatkam or Antima Shatkam. Charama means the peak or the end, whichever it has. Each of these are divided into 3 subtopics. We are now in the Prathama Shatka. And in the Prathama Shatka, we are covering 3 major topics. One topic is called Jiva Swarupa. Like we have seen in wherever I have shared thoughts with you, you all know that you are. Why all? All of us know that we are. That we exist is not a matter of doubt at all. How do you know? At midnight, someone calls you by your name. You say, yeah, speaking. You don't say, let me switch on the light and or let me check with the person next to me. Oh, I must be present. So this knowledge of my own existence is called Swata Siddham, self-evident. That I am is self-evident. I know I don't need any other means of knowledge to tell me that I exist. I don't need it. There's a patient recovering from his surgery and in his operating table, and the doctor says, "Hello, hello, sir, are you able to hear me?" He only can validate his experience. But the others can't say that he exists. So self-evident, I don't need any other means of knowledge to say that I exist. But to know that I am, I don't need a means of knowledge. But what I am, my swarupa, isn't a matter of doubt. This is what we have to understand very, very carefully. Vedanta has to work for us. We can learn a lot of theory and give very nice talks in various gatherings, and people will say, "Wawa, wawa," and things like that. But it has to work for you. If Vedanta has to work for you, if it has to make a difference to your life, if it has to transform your life, Krishna says there is nothing to be sad about. Dukkha is an illegitimate emotion. If this has to be your conviction, Vedanta has to work for you. Otherwise, you will say, Krishna has said it nice. During good times, you will give all these talks. During bad times, you will be shaken, shallow. Shifting sands will shake you out of your whatever level of comfort. You have to understand this carefully. Just understand Bhagavad Gita alone, it's good enough. You don't have to really, for your basic life, living a life, one of these is enough. If you want to be a teacher, you can do Upanishads, Brahma Sutra, things like that. One, understand it properly. It will make a difference to your lives. So like last week I mentioned, there are 5 R's there. Receive, Shravana. Reflect, Manana. Nididhyasana, relate. And before relating, retain. It has to be got into the system. And you have to relate to it as something which means something to you. Then you lead a relaxed life, 5 R's. This we have seen in our earlier sessions. So, one subtopic is Jiva Swarupa. Talks about your Swarupa. Then it talks about the next 2. Talk about how to prepare yourself for receiving, retaining this knowledge. Because what you are is not a matter of experience. Your experience tells you something differently. You're ignorant about your nature. The solution for ignorance is jnana, knowledge. I don't know something. The solution is knowledge. And for knowledge, I need an appropriate means that is called pramana. To see, this is the pramana. To hear, this is the pramana. To smell, this is the pramana. Sense of touch, this is the pramana. So, for knowing yourself, the pramana is Shastra. Veda pramana. Veda is the means. And self-study won't help you. Veda has to be unfolded by a guru who knows the art of unfoldment, who has gone through the parampara. And this jnana has to come to you over a length of time. Favorite quotations of our Swamis: consistent, regular, systematic study for a length of time. It has to be studied, only then it will work. And it's not just enough if you do a theoretical study. What you have studied, you have to do mananam, you have to reflect. When you reflect, the questions raised are answered. If you don't know, you ask the teacher again. And in the process of reflection, we retain this. And then once you retain, you start relating to it. Becomes your knowledge. It becomes your knowledge. Then you start relating to it. You'll see relaxation later. For you to know a subject well, the instrument of knowing, that is the antakarana, the instrument of knowing, should be prepared. So jnana prapti should be preceded by jnana yogyata prapti. A lot of people wonder, why do you keep repeating? Don't you know anything else? If this foundation is not clear, nothing will work. That's why we repeat. So that, when somebody pinches, you'll say, jnana prapti should be preceded by jnana yogyata. It should percolate into your system. So it should be preceded by jnana yogyata. And jnana yogyata comes from doing karma yoga. So one more topic of the first 6 chapters is karma yoga. What is karma yoga? The right action with the right attitude. What is the right action? Pursuit of artha kama is perfect, no problem at all. Please pursue artha kama. But artha kama must be pursued in alignment with dharma, what is proper. Then this instrument of knowledge, this instrument of knowing is free from conflicts. It is together, aligned. And when it is aligned, it is free from conflicts, subjectivity and other problems go away. I won't say they go away, they lose their ability to grip you. And in this precious space, in this valuable, invaluable, precious space, knowledge can be retained. You can relate to the knowledge in this precious space. Karma yoga. Karma done with Ishvara Arpana Bhavana is karma yoga. And the results of the action will accrue to you here or hereafter. Outcome. Any action will have results. You will have here or hereafter. There is no choice. And the outcome that comes has to be accepted as Ishvara Prasada Buddhi. This is Karma Yoga, a non-reactive, a non-resentful mind. And what are the actions? They say Pancha Mahayajna. So I've told this again, but I repeat it. Never mind. Good to reinforce. Last week we missed, so let's reinforce. Pancha Mahayajna. Recall Bhuta Yajna. Bhuta Yajna is there is an environmental infrastructure. You look after the environmental infrastructure with a reverential attitude. That's the difference between Veda Dharma and just other nature lovers. Nature lovers are also good people. They don't want to cut down trees. They want to preserve all life forms. The Veda, the Vaidika says, looks at the whole thing as Ishvara's expression. We'll see it in the next chapter, when we do 7 to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We'll see that. So in the next shatka, we'll see that you look at the environmental infrastructure available to you with a reverential attitude. Bhuta Yajna. Then you have Pitri Yajna. Pitri is not just elders and parents, it's a family infrastructure. Look at the family infrastructure with a reverential attitude. If it were not for my parents, I would not have been born. If it were not for some kind of tacit support given, I would have never been able to study Vedanta. Samskaras they came down to us. So there is a Pitri Yajna, is a family infrastructure. Then there is a Manushya Yajna, there is a social infrastructure. And nobody stops you from studying Vedanta. You don't have to hide and behind doors and then say we are not doing. I don't have to shout out on rooftops for Vedantic study. Nobody persecutes me for studying Vedanta. So there is a social infrastructure. I look at the social infrastructure reverentially. India is, Bharata Varsha is a unique place because the social infrastructure for study is available here. Look anywhere, Vedanta classes, Gita classes, Upanishad classes. Somebody teaches you chanting, somebody teaches you singing of the Gita. Somebody says health through Gita, somebody says leadership through Gita. This is a social infrastructure available. Then you have what is called Rishi Yajna, an infrastructure which is conducive for study. Rishi Yajna. You look at it reverentially. 2 days ago, I had a little doubt on some subjects. Who do I call? Swamiji, I would like to talk. So there is Swamiji in Kolkata. He calls and we have an elaborate conversation on the subject. You have a personal problem, okay? Apart from all the other solutions, you look for some kind of spiritual solution as well. You look for a spiritual solution. If you have values for Gita, if you have value for all this, you will go to a Swami and say, I'm going through this, what should I do? So there is a spiritual infrastructure. And they have a religious infrastructure, temples, puja. So if you follow these 5 infrastructure, it is called Pancha Maha Yajna. Your life can be within this 5 infrastructure. Your earning, your enjoyments, you are doing very well economically, can fall within this 5 lovely infrastructure. And what does this give you? It helps you grow emotionally. We don't believe in use and throw. We believe in use and grow. It gives you an opportunity to grow. So when Arjun had a doubt, should I not pursue sannyasa? He says, no. For people like Arjun, and for Arjun and Arjun like people, like you and me, grahasthas, he said this 5 infrastructure is available to you for you to grow in a family infrastructure. It's not all hunky-dory. You have problems, a lot of knocks. In a society infrastructure, there are problems. In natural or environmental infrastructure, there are problems. You want to grow, somebody wants to cut it down. They cut down trees and write a 500-page document on why trees should not be cut down. No problems there. In spiritual, you have problems. In religious, you have problems. You will have problems everywhere. Pancha Maha Yajna does not make problems go away, but they make a difference to your life. They help you lead a life in and through these problems. Because my experience is life, I want to deal with the world and I end up being dealt with. I want to handle the world, I end up being handled. So it teaches you the fine art of living in this world, facing such challenges. Arjuna is in a battlefield. His army has 7 divisions. The opposition army has 11 divisions. And who are arrayed to fight against him? Bhishma, his grandfather. Drona, his teachers. Kripacharya, another teacher. All people known to him, people who he has played with. He has known them all along, and they are arrayed to fight against him. And in a battle, if you don't give back, you will get. You have to give back properly if you have to win. The saying, there was a movie in which the protagonist speaks. He says, no one ever won a war. I'm diluting the language. No one ever won a war by dying for his country. He won a war by making the other poor, dumb fellow to die for his country. I never won a war by dying for my country, but I made the other poor, dumb fellow die for my country. It's so beautifully put. You don't win a war by dying for your. You win a war by killing the other fellow. The ultimate example is given. Artha, Kama, Dharma, living a life free from conflicts is challenging, let me tell you. Why challenging? All of you know yourself. Leading a life free from conflicts is challenging. And you have to learn to handle it. There is no running away. If you don't have the temperament, learn to fight. Learn to live in this world. By running away, no problem is solved. So that is Karma Yoga is taught to you. The third subtopic here is Jnana Upaya and Jnana Praya. How to go about it? What is the Upaya for Jnana? All three are covered in the first 5 chapters. So talking about your Swarupa, the teacher reinforces here that this BMS, body, mind, sense complex, yours and mine, has 2 components. One component is the changeless Atma. The other component is the changing Anatma. These 2 components must go together. You cannot have an out-of-body experience. You have to understand. There is a changing component. There is a changeless component. There are a lot of electrical equipment here. There is a changing component called equipment. There is a changeless component called electricity. You see my hand? There is a changing component called form. There is a changeless component called light. There is a changing component called Anatma. There is a changeless component called Atma. All of us have it without exception. That's why it's universal. It is not that only having people following Veda Parampara have it. Even if you don't follow, you have this. It's a fact. Now, what does a teacher tell you in chapter? There are certain words used. Okay? There is a word which says Prabhu. Who is a Prabhu? Prabhu is a person, means the Lord, the ruler. The Lord. Prabhu is the person who identifies with the changeless platform during challenges. See, identifying with the changing platform during good times, you don't need anything. You are enjoying having fun, maja maja. But it's time when life delivers you to a punch that you start questioning things. You say, I am a failure. That's when the Prabhu, the wise one, goes back into his green room personality. He retreats, he takes a step back into his Atma component. The Atma component is called Sakshi. The Anatma component is called Ahankara. So if you identify with Sakshi consistently, life is relaxed. If you identify with Ahankara consistently, life is a struggle. And how to identify the Sanksa with the Sakshi is knowledge. And the person who is able to identify with the Sakshi is a Jnani. And the person who is unable to identify with the Sakshi and gets blown away by the Ahankara is an Ajnani. So during the day, several parts of the day, several parts of the life, we are Ajnanis. So let's not fool ourselves. Yes. How to identify the Sakshi Bhava? By identifying myself with the Sakshi Bhava, by identifying with the Sakshi, not Sakshi Bhava, by identifying with the Sakshi, that's called Sakshi Bhava, by identifying with the Sakshi, by identifying with the Sakshi, do the problems go away? Yeah, no, they don't. If you have a headache, if you identify with the Sakshi, the headache will remain. I've been coughing for some time. By identifying with the Sakshi, the cough won't work. Then what is the problem? Why identify with the Sakshi? It does something to you. Something happens here. When I meet failure, there's nothing called failure really. Okay? We'll see that as we go. Okay, let's put it this way. When things don't go according to my scheme of things, my plan of things, my agenda, it gives me dukkha. What is the outcome? What's my conclusion? If I am at the ahankara platform, I say I am a failure. And I blame the whole world for it. My parentage, the planets, everybody is blamed. Somebody says, my parents are not supportive. See, look at those parents, they are very supportive. My parents are not supportive. My parents didn't educate me. I was born under the wrong sign. I was born in the wrong country. I should have been born elsewhere. I was born in the wrong community. You can have the whole world to blame. Okay, how does Sakshi Bhava help you? Sakshi Bhava gives you the objectivity to say, careful, okay? This is how Sakshi Bhava works. Sakshi Bhava doesn't mean you close your eyes and wish away all these problems. They come back with even more intensity. It's like eye of the storm. You'll be hit back by the second round, like it's happening in so many cyclone prone states. You're in the eye of the storm. That means the second half is waiting for you. You don't wish away problems. You don't go into self-denial. The Sakshi Bhava is a deliberate process of thinking. It is not an experience. It's not closing your eyes and then something happening. Nothing happens. It's a deliberate process of thinking where you step back and say, when things go wrong, I have an inclination to blame a lot of people, a lot of situations. How was your ahankara thinking? I'm an unlucky fellow. The stars are against me, my parents are against me, the world is against me, I married the wrong person, I have the wrong. All of them have these problems. This is ahankara thing. How a jnani thinks? Jnani also goes through these problems. Arjuna was sitting there not having fun. Arjuna was going through a problem. Right? Fighting against and killing your relatives is not a joke. Not a joke. Ultimate example. How does he think? How does Krishna say? Recommends that a jnani thinks. He says, you will say, when I am faced with challenges, so there are two I's there. When you identify with the Sakshi, it is capital I. When you identify with the Ahankara, it is small I. So when you say when I face challenges, small I faces challenges, I have an inclination to blame the world. This is the Sakshi thought process. You have suddenly stepped back. The challenges remain, the problems remain, the hurt remains, the guilt remains, the despair remains, the disappointments remain, but something very, very big happens, very, very crucial happens. These lose their power to sink their teeth into you. You are as though free from inside, a certain objectivity. You have distanced yourself with the problem. Distance doesn't mean indifference. Distance simply means step back and look, where do I stand? And especially during tough times. This is nididhyasana. Not sitting in meditative pose and trying to forget everything. When you wake up, it will come back with double the force. Nididhyasanam, jnana yogyata prapti. How do I make this knowledge work for me? As sadhakas, I am a relative Prabhu when I am able to manage some of my problems with this thought process. Is it possible to be a total Prabhu? We don't know, but let's try. Because remember, this body has an Atma portion and an Anatma portion. The Anatma portion by itself cannot do anything. The Atma component has to lend existence to the Anatma. When the Atma lends existence to the Anatma as though comes alive. It's otherwise inert. And without the Anatma, the Atma cannot function in the transactional world. So you have to appreciate both. Some people say, if this body goes, I'll be free. Who knows what will happen? Nobody has got this experience so far. After death experience. Even many of these people say, after death you will go somewhere. I have to go and live in heaven after death. What do and what's the guarantee? What's the guarantee? There's no guarantee. No, they can only, it's a matter of belief, non-verifiable belief. Sometimes mere speculation. I don't want to go into all that. But please understand, jnana is working here. Relate to it at every time. Can you be a relative Prabhu? Can you? We had an exercise in the training program. I said, can you write down the happy moments of life? The fellow was thinking. Then I said, can you reconcile? He said, sir, 144-page notebook, not enough, sir. So there are a lot of challenges in life. At least go back to your challenges that you faced in life. Can you at least sit back and say how the challenges were overcome, and now you can talk about those challenges in a very entertaining kind of way. Can you talk about all these challenges in a very, you do talk about a challenge. Somebody went through a lot of problems. He says, how I overcame them? Oh my God, I thought I would be finished. And then, so you're able to objectify the past challenges. With appropriate abhyasa, you can even objectify challenges today without reacting. Even if you react, don't go into a self-denial. Simply say, thought process, deliberate thought process. I have the inclination to react. I have a tendency to feel suffocated from inside. You've objectified it. Okay, I want to read out certain things which there's a journal I write. I like you to. I do it. I don't recommend. I'm not saying you should. So, can you write? This is something I write. It helps me. I hope to maintain my calm and restraint throughout today. I resolve not to get drawn into any debate with anyone. Okay. I do exercise a lot of care, and I'm aware that I have to put in more control over my reactions. This is something I've written this morning. So what has happened? I'm not denying that I react. Somebody does something which I don't like, there is a tendency to react. So before I tell the person anything or before my facial expression changes, suppose I tell myself, there is a tendency to react. Can you remember that you should maintain a calm disposition? Yeah, I suddenly become aware of my Sakshi. I am now going into my Sakshi Bhav, especially during good times. Somebody hits you. What is your punch back? Especially these days with text. If we spoken, we don't speak back so harshly. But when it comes to writing, we write all kinds of things. Okay, we tend to share something. Written somewhere very nice. I've written something here which I wanted to share. Yeah. Yeah. There was a tendency to be too harsh when things didn't go according to what I wanted. I was a little too harsh with people in this group. I have an inclination to lose control when I start texting. And invariably, a weak one bears the brunt of the attack. The weak one happens to be somebody I am really fond of. So now I'm regretful. I add, and there's an inclination to be regretful. I have to go back and apologize. And when I apologize, the person goes, climbs up a tree. Now I have to apologize some more, try to bring down. There's more resentfulness. The Sakshi Bhava, this is how you handle. I handle it. I don't say, each one has its own way. Okay. Something seems to snap. So, and when you read this, I find, yeah, there's objectivity, precious objectivity. And when you're able to do that, you are a relative Prabhu. That's what the teacher says. Okay. Let's quickly read the verse. Okay. Na kartritvam na karmani lokasya srijati prabhu na karma phala sanyogam swabhavastu pravartate. Once more. न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः न कर्मफल संयोगं स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते. This is Prabhu, the Lord of the world. Na kartrutvam, no agency. Okay. Na karmani, no actions. Na karma phala sanyogam, there is no association with karma phala. Okay. And lokasya, but if I'm ignorant of the Sakshi, what happens? Leads to action, leads to resentfulness and problems. So the translation is like this. Atma creates neither doership nor objects, nor contact with the results of actions for the people. Maya operates. This is what is said there. Very easy to translate and say, let's go to the next verse. The understanding is necessary. There is an anatma portion. There is an atma portion. All actions are in the anatma portion. Okay. My swarupa is atma component. But the atma component is closely associated with anatma. You can't wish away the anatma. Especially during challenging times, if I am able to abide in the reality of my Atma Swarupa, the problems of the Anatma do not stick on to me. See, understand. When somebody cuts his hand with the knife, it doesn't mean that he can cut his hand and there'll be no bleeding. it doesn't stick on to me, means I don't blame myself, I don't blame the world, I don't blame anybody. I say, if this is the world, this is a transactional reality. In the transactional reality, this is how it functions. There are certain things in the transactional reality which I can handle. There are certain things in transactional reality I can do nothing about. What's my thought process? Yeah. There are certain things I can do. I will make efforts to do them. There are certain things which I can't do anything about. I will not invest wasteful energy in that activity. What will be the attitude here? Majburi ka naam mujhe se no. Arey majburi hai no. I will say thought process. I am aware that there are problems. I want to solve them. I find these problems seem to be never ending. What I want does not seem to happen. Rather than say, I'm going through this, I'm going through this, if I can change the thought process. I am aware that there are certain problems which have an inclination to call the language changes, okay? I am going through. So we never call somebody a thief. We never call anybody a liar. To change the thought process, I say, this person is given to lying under certain circumstances. This person is given into bursting out under certain circumstances. I am given to being resentful under circumstances, certain circumstances. I am very kind and accommodative with some people. I seem to be impatient with some people. I'm become objective. I'm becoming objective at every point of time. And when you are objective, remember this. I remember this action. Valuable space inside. It is this place doesn't get mucked up with old files and photos and things like that. No space for downloading. No gadget dominates you. See, last year they were selling a phone. This year, front page advertisement. Buy a latest version of this phone. Exchange price only 48,000. Like you pay 70,000 rupees last year. Now exchange price is 48,000. You still have to pay 40,000. Pure marketing pushing. And how do you feel when you're not able to buy? You look at a fellow who's bought and sees the fellow so lucky, so fortunate. Shukra is working in his life. Now, what has Shukra got to do with you or somebody else buying a latest version of a phone? See, look at the car. Yes, I don't seem to have it. You've gone to another. So rather than say, I should not think like that, if you convert your thought process to, hey, during certain times, I have an inclination to think like that. Now, suddenly what happens, that sense of smallness doesn't grip you anymore. It is like you're playing a role on stage. There is a changeless actor. There are changing roles. There is a changeless actor. There are changing roles. The actor plays a young man in a role, in one particular scene. He ages, becomes infirm. He goes through certain pain. And he tells the director, I would like this scene to be. Yeah, there was a movie, right? See, movies also teach you a lot of things. They teach you a lot of things. There was a movie in which there are two friends, very close friends. And they sing song on friendship and things like that. And because of some situation, the friends end up in opposite camps and become like enemies. And towards the end, something happens and there's a conspiracy. One fellow is to be bumped off. So both the fellows are, the fellow who reads the script, he says, my God, my role is going to get a lot of audience sympathy. He's very happy with the director. The other fellow says, sir, if you give this scene to this fellow, my image will go away. So I want to die. So imagine in a movie, both the characters are fighting for dying. I want to die, I want to die, I want to die. नहीं, बड़ा graphic death होना चाहिए, sir. They should shoot me and I should have all this regret. All these things, look. Now the fellow who's playing the role, look at he says he wants to die because he knows he's really not dying. It's a changing role. The changeless I has no problems. Sometimes the intensity of the role can be so intense that that can be a tremor. So the curtain comes down. The audience are saying, wow, 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 kya acting kiya, kamal ka acting kiya. And when he does that kamal ka acting, before coming down to the audience and accepting their congratulatory greetings, he says, just give me a little time in the green room. Thoda thanda kuch pilao, let me have something to drink. Let me relax. Let me get my breath back. And then he comes out. So when life becomes too challenging, please understand, if the tremors of the challenge hit the Sakshi Bhava, don't say you're some papi or something. He says, once you have come to study Vedanta, there is no such papi there. That's what he says. Papam na lipyate. But do understand, be aware of the fact that the situation has been challenging. I have you call it, FIR reduction. Frequency of emotional disturbances, intensity of emotional disturbances, recovery time. You say, perhaps in this situation, my recovery time has been longer. Please understand, this is Nidhidhyasanam. This is how you make Gita work for you. Sir, I can chant all 18 chapters. You tell me any verse, any place, I can chant. I'll tell them in Punjabi, Kira farak painda hai. Who does it help? Other than get you one more label, he can chant Bhagavad Gita. Label mila hai. Does it work for you? So when the teacher says, Prabhu, at least for some parts of the day, can you be a Prabhu? Okay, let's read one more verse. These portions have to be, but you have to relate to every bit of this. Otherwise, it's not going to work for you. So there is a Nirvana Shatakam. Again, 6 verses, there it says, Na punyam, na papam, na saukhyam, na dukkham, na mantro, na tirtham, na veda, na yajyaha, aham bhojanam naiva, bhojyam na bhokta, chitananda rupa shivoham, shivoham. I am the Sakshi. And when I reside in the Sakshi, when I abide in the knowledge that I am in the Sakshi, the various roles that I play, they're all there. I am able to objectify the good, the bad, the punyam, the papam, the dukkham. I am able to objectify everything. I am the role player and I am able to objectify all the problems of the role. This is something, it's called Nididhyasana. You have to exercise it. Just suddenly one fine morning it won't dawn. Especially during challenging times, you have to think. Deliberate thinking has to be, you have to get into deliberate thinking. Okay. So let's see what verse number 16 says. We are going to study. Okay. In verse number 16, he uses another word. The teacher uses. In verse number 15, the teacher uses one word, Prabhu. In 14, he uses Prabhu. In 15, he uses the word Vibhu. Okay, he uses the word Vibhu. Vibhu means all pervasive. In the various roles that I play, the changing roles that I play, What is the all-pervasive changeless? I, the role player, am changeless. In all the challenges that I face, the change, in all the changing challenges that I face, the changeless Sakshi is aware of all the challenges. I'm aware of the challenges. So it's a process. You have to start thinking, reflecting on that. The problem is that of Ajnana. And what is the solution for Ajnana? Jnanam. So there are certain problems at the Anatma level. You can have Aneka sadhana. Like I have a shoulder ache. I don't have just giving, I'm having a shoulder ache. For shoulder ache, you can say, do this exercise, do this therapy, that therapy. And end of it, grin and bear it. No reflection on it. But I have a problem of ignorance. What do I do? Jnanam alone is the solution. How to remove ignorance? It says, Eka sadhana sadhyam. There is only one way out, and that is removal. How do I do it? Moksha is Eka sadhana sadhyam. Okay, because ignorance removal is moksha, and ignorance can be removed only by jnana. That has to be understood. That's what in verse number 16 the teacher says, Jnanena tu tat jnanam yesham nashitam atmanah. Jnanena tu tat jnanam yesham nashitam atmanah. Tesham adityavat jnanam prakashayati tatparam. Tesham adityavat jnanam prakashayati tatparam. Verse number 16, chapter 5. It says, however, jnanam prakashayati illumines. Okay? That tat param. What param? Your Atma Swarupa, the Jiva Swarupa is revealed to you by Jnanam, by the operation of appropriate means of knowledge, Guru Mukhena, by Shravana and Manana. It is revealed to you. You have to own it up by Nididhyasana. And what's the example given? Adityavat, like the sun, Tesham. Okay? Just as darkness is removed by the arrival of the sun. Hey, you have to do nothing. The sun rises, dhire, 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 darkness. In the same way, when jnanam rises, knowledge illumines Atma, like the sun, for those whose ignorance of Atma is. So, knowledge destroys the ignorance of Atma. You know that you are, but you don't know what you are. So the Rupa, the Swarupa, the Ananda Swarupa, the Dukkha Rahita Swarupa, the Ananta Swarupa is revealed to you. And the knowledge dawns and the ignorance goes away. But for the knowledge to be retained, the knowledge comes, it happens. You know, our Swamiji used to say, Chappal on, knowledge gone. The knowledge, because we have to be consistently in it, otherwise knowledge will go away. Let's say you learn to operate a new software and you have not worked on it for 3 months. You go back into it, you will forget everything. You'll have to start, you have to put into YouTubes and find out what has happened. You have to be in the knowledge. Shravana Manana, by Nididhyasanam, you reinforce. This is what the teacher explains in 14, 15, and 16. The nature of the Sakshi is Prabhu. The nature of the Sakshi is Vibhu. The ignorance of the Prabhu, Vibhu will go away by knowledge. And for that, one needs Shravana Manana, reinforced by Nididhyasana. This is what chapter 16. Chapter 5, verse number 16 says. Jnana Upaya is being highlighted. We will continue in our next sessions. Om. Swasti Prajabhya Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahisha Gobrahmanebhya Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Kale varshatu parjanyah prithvi sasya shalinim desho yam shobarahitah brahmana santu nirbhaya sarve bhavantu spinah sarve santu niramaya sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet asato ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritangamaya om purnamada purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnameva vasishyate om shanti 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 Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Hari Om Sadgurunath Maharaj ki jai ho स्वामी दयानंद महाराज की जय हो सब संतों की जय हो वेद परंपरा की जय हो शास्त्रों की जय हो ओम 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 every day spend a few minutes reflecting on the sakshi, not reflecting, abiding in the sakshi. Tell, close your eyes and say, in and through all that is happening around me, there is an awareful being. And my Swarupa, Atma Swarupa is awareful being. And there are so many changes happening. That is Anatma, the reflection of the Atma in the Anatma is making me feel as though I am going through this problem. It's like watching a 3D movie. As though I am going through this problem. The reality is I am only a Sakshi, and what is happening in the platform of, tell yourself a few minutes ago, especially in challenges, especially when in challenge, waiting at the traffic jam, jalebi traffic of this place where I'm. Many problems, plenty. For problems, you don't have to ask. So many problems. During the time, this is called Nididhyasana. Nididhyasanam reinforces our jnana. And when I abide in the jnana, there is a transformation. What transformation? Challenges don't grip you. The background process of Aham Brahmasmi becomes a natural background process. Effortlessly, you abide in the reality. Till you come to that, you have to do deliberate abidance in the reality. Till it becomes spontaneous abidance in reality. That's called Sahaja Samadhi. Oh, may Ishvara be in your lives. Jai Ho.